Hello YouTube land, I'm Sarah and it's time for another adventure of being Sarah. Whoa, 2 weeks in a row basically? Oh, how'd that happen? I have no idea, but so I didn't do a whole lot since last week because, it was last week. But I did work on some stuff and I made a big decision about whips, etc, etc. And I think because it is going to be such a short video, I didn't get any haul. Well, technically I finished stuff. I didn't start anything. It'll probably be, a bit shorter, so I think I'll do Jessie Marie's, I think that's who it was, Pearl Tag, because, I didn't do that one yet, so, yeah. So, when last we left, I was attempting to, get Faces of Fairy 161 done by November 11th. Well, that did not happen. Obviously, today is not yet November 11th, but I'm just going to admit defeat because it was stressing me out way too much. I was trying to slog through it, and then I would find myself not working on anything. Like, I would just sit there. Pretty much. So, she's gone in timeout. I was like, hey, it's okay if I do this, right? Not that I really need anybody's permission, but, it's nice to be like, yeah, no, you're fine. So, here's where she is now. I mean, I would love to get her done. I would love, love, love to get her done, but it's not likely that she's going to be finished by November 11th. I mean, I've already lost a week in there. But you know what? I'm not going to stress over this. She will get done when she gets done. I want to, I had those 2 poppies one. I think it's 2 poppies. Check. Poppy pear. That's what it is. There's one called Poppy Pear, which is 2 big poppies. It's a small, it's maybe about a big, probably like 4x6. If you hear any hacking, coughing, that's Molly. I think she's outside my door. I don't know. So I have no idea when I'm going to get to her. I did not start 235 yet. I don't know if I want to start her right now. I don't know. So the one thing that I did do was sorry, I'm trying to remember what I did. I think I worked. Oh, yeah. I did. That's right. I did work a little bit on my stocking, which is the Tiffany Nativity stocking. This is one that I started back in 2003 with many notes of random things. But eventually, hey, it's getting feisty over here. Eventually, it'll look like that. But of course, with my name. It's going to be a while, but I did work on this last Saturday night and Sunday. I didn't get that much done because I don't know if you've seen American Gods, but that's really, really fascinating. But I got a lot of this area, well, this area, and in here. So it wasn't a whole lot, but that whole area. So I have absolutely no idea when I'm going to get back to that. I would love to be done with this because then it would be, done. But again, no idea. I have not touched Mom's ornament. I have not started my sister's ornament. I have not started my ornament. I have not finished the ornaments. I'm just a mess. So last week I was supposed to go to the local Stitcher thing. There's a Roanoke Stitcher group that meets like basically once a month. It's not always a consistent Saturday, and it's not always in Roanoke. Sometimes it's out of town. But it's a lovely group of ladies. And so originally it was supposed to be last week, the 13th, because I was all excited, like, oh, I'm going to start this hay here. And then that just didn't happen because the whole Hurricane Michael thing, we weren't sure if, like, there was going to be road conditions, good enough road conditions. Of course, it turned out it was fine. But, one never knows. So people were like, well, why don't we reschedule for the 20th? And then it was like, well, it looks pretty clear out there now, so why don't we go back to the 13th? But wait, people said that they were going to come to the 20th. I don't know. Let's do both. Well, the whole idea was there's a sort of local needle workshop called Southern Pastimes. I've never been. I've heard of it, but I think it has more like prim stuff, which is not my jam. It still is not my jam. It's not going to be my jam. I can appreciate it. It's just not my thing. But I think they also have like fancy floss. So where did I put that? I don't know where I put it from last week. It's around here somewhere. I was gonna show Goat Load, but I don't remember where I put the folder. And it's not appearing in a convenient place. Nope. Anyway. So I was thinking about seeing if Goat Load, if that has, I can't remember if that has fancy floss, and if so, But then I also thought about like seeing what sort of interesting things for Halloween at Hawthorne Hollow I could find, because like I think I want to do like the ghosties in glow in the dark, and I want to find some linen for that. No idea when I'm going to stitch it, but hey, whatever. That's right, because I had taken the stocking and the Pomeranian with me when I went to the boyfriend's, and I did not work on the Pomeranian because I wasn't feeling 25 count 25 count 3-strand tenting over 1. I just wasn't feeling it. But I decided, since I put 161 in timeout, that meant I could really go back and catch up with the Guardian Sow. So that is exactly what I did. So September and October. So that means I am 5/6 of the way done. And it also means I'm completely done with all the blue and completely done with all the purple, because the next one for November will be green, and then December will be pink. So I am very, very happy with how this is turning out. I still want to turn this into a clock because, it's perfect for a clock. I just don't know how. So if anybody knows how to finish things into a clock, let me know. If you have like any tutorials, or if I don't know, if Anna did a tutorial. I haven't really watched her stuff, so I don't know what she has and hasn't, or whatever. So, but if you know of how to turn things into a clock, let me know. And the thing that I've been working on I've been working on that since, what's that? Yeah, I worked on that for 4 days. Because it was Monday, and then I just finished that last night with October, or technically this morning. Because I did all the the darkest color, and then the medium color, and then the light, and then the back stitching. So they were like neck and neck. Okay, not really, but anyway. So then I decided I wanted to go back to the the Peace on Earth cell, which the last time I showed it, I had not finished the snowflakes, and there wasn't nearly so much with the brickwork, but it's a little hard to see, but there's a little bit of that top snowflake that's like a half a snowflake. But I got all of that done, which was a pain in the butt, or fingers rather, because it is thicker braid, so you kind of have to really pull it. And I even used a thicker needle, like a bigger needle, which was a lot easier than this little one, because oh my gosh, this is really too thin to be using. But anyway, so I mean, I love this this cherry bark, and then this color is copper, and then this one is, what is this one? Yeah, copper for this color, and then hollyberry for this one. So my plan is to try to finish the house and then the upper snowflake, because that'll be a good, stopping point. Who knows? I haven't really figured out my Salem Fair entries, but I'm thinking that this might be one. Oh, go away, Mom. This is why you put your phone on silent. Anyway, it's probably on our way back, as I was saying. So, asking questions. Anyway, so I'm just not sure if I should put this in the Ada category, or I think there was a Christmas category, but I'm not entirely for sure on that. And I closed my program. I wonder if anybody else is having difficulty with uploading pictures to Facebook, because all of a sudden today it's just not cooperating. It like does the screen, and then it blinks out, and it says, when you try to close the thing, it says something about, do you want to leave this page? It's like, I didn't make any changes, you stupid thing. Anyway, but because yeah, I was trying to upload this picture of this, it was not cooperating. Very irritating. Yeah, there's a separate section that says 207 Christmas item, and then there's 208 is frame picture on Ada Hardanger. So I don't know which one it would be under. I don't know. Maybe Christmas. I don't know. Anyway, so I'm thinking about putting this for one and then Guardians for another, because that's on some sort of even week. But anyway, so yeah, that was my week of crafty stuff. And so now is the pearl tag. This is one that Jessie Marie came up with. I keep forgetting not to touch my mouse because it jiggles a lot on the computer stand. So, but here's the pearl tag. It says, "Remember, this is not meant to be used to insult or bully anyone. There are things that irritate all of us as stitchers. These are meant to show people they're not alone." Kind of like when a pearl is formed from an irritating grain of sand. I guess that's what it is. Okay, the first one is, what irritates you the most about cross stitch in general? Why? I think probably the thing that would that irritates me most is it takes so long to do. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, like if you're trying to use it for like meditative purposes. Evidently, that was one of those things that is going to be a tongue twister. But I have so many things that I want to do. And I don't have enough time to do them all in. And I guess that irritates me. But not really enough. I mean, I can't really think of anything that irritates me about cross-stitch. Really? Not being able to stitch as fast as I want to. Like, there are some people that I know that can, like, fly through something. And it's like, holy crap, didn't you just, like, start that an hour and a half ago? Yes. Oh, well. The next one says, what designer irritates you the most? Why? Well, I'm not really a fan of samplers. Although I can appreciate them more. I'm not a fan of primitives. Designs that have, like, big, blocky cross-stitch words in them, like Lizzie Kate. I'm not saying that it doesn't have its merits. It's just not to my taste. And it does nothing for me. But I guess the designer that actually does irritate me is Witchy Kit, because they have taken a lot of things that they should not have in the past and just run them through design software and put them up even though they didn't have permission to do so. Like, I know that there were hate artists that had been charted by them. At least I assume that they run it through a thing. Anyway, and it's been a thorn in a lot of people's sides. So that's why I use a designer. Sorry, I have an itchy foot. I swear, like, I never used to be this itchy before. All of a sudden, super dry skin. Don't know. Real life, people. Anyway, so number 3, which stitch irritates you and why? I don't know if any of them actually really irritate me, because the ones that kind of make me nervous, like, there's one, I think it's called the turkey stitch, where you make loops and, like, they get tacked down, and then at the end you cut the loops so it makes like a beard or whatever. I get nervous when I cut something and I don't have it knotted, so I don't like to do them. And heart hanger just makes me nervous just in general, because cutting my fabric is no. So I don't do heart hanger. I use the floss. I use the heart hanger fabric, but I don't do actual heart hanger. I have zero interest in attempting to do pulled thread work or heart hanger or whatever. That I have no reason to want to do this. And so I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to. So I guess when there's a lot of back stitching, that's kind of irritating because it takes for freaking ever. And it's like, I started this 3 months ago. Why am I not finished with the back stitching? There's a crap load of back stitching, so of course you're not done with it. But I cannot backstitch as I go. I have to leave it to the end. And the reason why I have to leave it to the end is because usually it's a kit, not like the Guardians or like this. I don't think there's any backstitching. I can't remember. Anyway, but like, not on Guardians because I kitted that up myself. But like like a dimensions kit or whatever, I never know if there's going to be enough. So I want to make sure all of the regular cross stitches look the same. So it's the same dye lot, because it can always go back if I don't think I'm going to have enough to backstitch around the whatever. I can always pull from my box of floss, because I have a cardboard box over here that has a bunch of floss. I can always pull something at least similar enough to pass it off as being okay. Let's see. Number 4 is, what irritates you about the non-stitchers? No names. It irritates me when, and I don't have a whole lot of this in my life, which I'm glad, but when people are very dismissive of the craft, of like, oh, I don't have patience to do that, or, whatever, or they're gimme pigs, as they say in the self-knitter crochet group on Ravelry, where they want you to make something, but they're not willing to pay you for your time and efforts. And some of it's because they just don't know, and some of it's because they're cheap. And it's like, I'm sorry, if I'm going to be stitching you something, I can't be stitching me something. And I've been stitching long enough to know that I am well into sable. So if I'm stitching something for somebody I don't like, why would I want to do that? And I mean, I know you could be like, oh, well, you're doing all these Faces of Fairy and there's no real purpose to them. But this is something that I decided I was going to do. Not because I'm being paid to do it or whatever. It may be my life's work, but it's still something that I've chosen to do. And I haven't been voluntold. It also irritates, as I said, the gimme pigs. It irritates me when somebody, maybe not realizing how much work goes into something, starts saying, oh, I want you to make me such and such. And then they're like, I'm not going to pay you. I'm not going to make it. Anyway. And then also, like, the people that just seem to think it's like a waste of time and stuff. It's like, no. Like, if you're going to be dismissive of my hobby, then you need to justify your own. Because playing video games or doing drugs or drinking or whatever, or going to, I don't know, like just going to the movie, just sitting, watching reality shows or whatever, and not actually doing anything. Like, at least I'll get a beautiful picture out of it. I'll have a piece of art at the end, as opposed to people that invest in other things and don't. Now, I'm not saying that they shouldn't do whatever they want to do. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is, don't belittle my hobby unless you can justify yours. I mean, that's why the boyfriend never says anything about, like, how much stitchy time I do. Because, like, when we watch TV, I always have my little light. My little light that Stitcherisa encouraged me to get, because I found her review. And it's actually a really good little light. So if you go and watch her review, you'll get a good idea of what my light is like. Anyway, so I always bring my little light with me because he moved the lamp into what should be the bedroom where the craft or the model stuff is. Like, he does gaming model stuff. And he's like, I need light in this room. So he put all the lamps in the room. I'm like, really? I'm glad I got a little light. And like I told, I left in a comment on Jan's video, that I basically just clip it to my bra, and it just sits right there, and it works great. So, number 5, what irritates you about other stitchers? No names. Of course, no names. The only names I put in the last one were positive reasons. They were example. Bad remote. Bad table. Okay, back to the last of the questions. What irritates you about the other stitchers? And no names. It irritates me when people act holier than thou. Now, that could also be for the non-stitchers as well, but like, when people go on about, oh, you can't have knots. Oh, really? I've been stitching in some form or another, like including embroidery, since, doing a little math, since 1985 or 1986, somewhere in there. I forget when I got at least one kit for Christmas. I remember that kit. It was these flowers, and I remember they were satin stitches, and I remember working so hard on it. I have no idea where it went to. No idea. But I remember I really enjoyed that one. But that's neither here nor there. I have always used knots. My grandma, who had done embroidery, etc. for 80, 90 years, I don't remember, 80 something years, she had no problems with this whatsoever. My work has always turned out nicely. Even my other more picky grandma would have been fine with it. I've never had a problem with stuff laying flat. My knots are very, very small. Well, okay, they're not that small on the that part, but they lay flat, and there's enough give in the fabric that it's not going to, make a bump or whatever. So when people bitch about, you can't have knots, oh really? Watch me. And then also when people go on about how if you don't use linen or whatever, you're a beginner stitcher. Or, things like that. Or like, basically when they act all superior and holier than thou because they do it this way, and, well, you're doing it wrong. Oh, really? I'll tell you what I think of you're doing it wrong crap. And I'll tell it to your face. It has nothing to do with the fact that I'm over here in my little land of portion of the internet. If you're there in person, I'll tell you exactly where you can shove your opinion in so many words. I didn't think I was going to get a little irritated with this, but evidently I am. But also, like, if somebody says they don't want advice about, like, they're sharing a picture of something that they've done, and they're like, I'm not interested in advice on this, then don't give advice. But like making people feel bad because they're doing it wrong, I really hate that. One thing, I thought of something for number 3, which stitch irritates you and why. The loop method irritates the living crap out of me. Thread, floss, yarn has a grain. It has a grain. I know this because I am a spinner. It has a grain, and if you do the loop method, if the grain is going this way, then when you loop back around, it's going this way, and it's going in opposite directions, so it's going to wear differently. All for want of making sure you don't have a knot. Now, just because your floss hasn't shredded, well, bully for you, but you're weakening one of the lengths of the floss. If you separate your floss and then put them back together, which can improve your coverage, you have them going in the same direction. And I remember reading something, and I think it must have been just cross stitch. I'm not really for sure. Anyway, that basically to figure out which end you want to do, you want to take your floss and evidently drop it. You want to take your floss. Let's say these are two different ends, or I have no idea. You take your floss and go like this. You tap the end. And whichever one frays out more, this one frayed out more than this one, you pull from that end. That's how you determine the grain. There's actual grain to floss and yarn, and I absolutely hate hearing when people do the stupid loop start method. But it's their project, it's their yarn, or it's their floss. If they want to do that, and because avoiding knots, oh my god, the knots, is such a concern for them, by all means do so. It's their project. I ain't gonna do it. Oh, and one more thing that irritates me is when people recommend Woolite to wash your stuff in. No. Never, ever, 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 never, ever use Woolite. Woolite contains residue and crap like that, perfumes and residue and such, that will stay on your floss and your fabric. And then that can lead to problems later on. So never, ever, ever, never, never, ever, never, ever, never, 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 ever, 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 never, never, ever use Woolite when it comes to your cross stitch. Now, if you're washing your woolens, sure, go for it. Oh, and don't use, if you've got wool, like if this was wool instead of this sparkly acrylic stuff, I would never use OxyClean on this, because OxyClean eats the wool proteins, the proteins in the wool. So if you're using something that has a wool or a wool blend, don't use OxyClean, because it will eat it. And I think it's also hydrogen peroxide that will do that as well. So evidently I still managed to ramble for 33 minutes, and my phone is still not charged, and yeah, so I can't think of anything else, and I finished the tag, and I ranted for a while, and why is stupid Facebook not letting me upload pictures? Hello? I want to add a picture of this to my album of this. It won't let me do a new album either. I mean, it's like when YouTube was down this past week. Oh my gosh, it was like everybody lost their minds. Although, for a good chuckle, go to Twitter and search the hashtag YouTube down. It's wow. So on that note, I have no idea when I'll see you again, but I'll have adventures. Okay, bye.